outdoors like oftentimes people would believe it is. So a lot of these labels sound better than they are, unfortunately. And that's why farmers markets are really good, because if somebody did still want to eat meat, and again, I'm not an advocate of that at all, but they could get to know the farmer and maybe go visit the farm. Because a lot of the labels don't really tell the story.
I just want to let you folks know that there are, obviously you've seen pictures of bad eggs, but there are good farmers out there who do care about their animals and who do want the best for their animals. And I just wanted to let you know that there are dairy quality assurance programs and beef quality assurance programs. The Stockman and Stewardship Program is a great program that's in the beef industry, trying to raise awareness and help farmers learn their pigmanship and be better stewards with their animals, so they can learn those things that may have been lost.
Well, I think farmers generally care. You know, that's the thing. And farmers also generally think they're doing good. You know, but sometimes if you're in a particular world, you don't really recognize that maybe what you're doing isn't so great. You know, so there's growing awareness and interest in these issues, but unfortunately sometimes also it's more spin. It's not really what's happening. Again, cage-free eggs, free range, isn't all that great. Natural. Natural beef can come from cows raised in feedlots given hormones and antibiotics. So a lot of these sort of humane or terms or these things used to sell these products don't really meet consumers' expectations. I remember one time being at a legislative committee talking about gestation crates for pigs. And there's actually a pig farmer there who says we have a lot of, just what you said, about how we have all these things and producers care. And the pigs like gestation crates. She actually said they liked them. And I was kind of dumbfounded by it, really didn't know what to say, because she actually believed the pigs liked those crates. And I don't understand how she really believed that, but she did. And she probably believed that that was good for them and they liked it. And I don't understand that, but that is, you know, people in a certain world believe things that those around them believe. We're very much social animals, and when everybody's doing the same thing, it tends to be justified as appropriate, even if it isn't. And I think that's what happened on farms today. A lot of the practices, the pictures I showed here, have become normal. And a lot of farmers will defend them as humane and appropriate, and will even say, the animals like this. And they believe it. But I think, again, you need to step back and look at it and ask yourself, is that okay? And not only say, how does that look to the public and how can we sell that to the public? Because that's sometimes the industry perspective. It has to be legitimate. It has to say, is that okay? You know, Temple Grandin, who has done a lot to prevent some of the most problematic industry practices, you know, said that living in those crates is like living in the middle seat of an airplane for your whole life. You know, is that okay? Most people would say no. But again, the standard operating procedures and all those, you know, industry guidelines you described say that's okay.
At the sanctuary, do you bury the animals as they pass away?
Yes, at the sanctuary we bury the animals, or we sometimes have them cremated.
Just two short questions. What is the animal capacity, I guess, of Farm Sanctuary? How many do you have of each?
What is the animal capacity? We have over 1,000 animals between our two farms. A lot of those are chickens and turkeys because they're smaller, but we have probably about, 200 sheep, about maybe 60 cows, maybe 50 pigs. So that's a rough, but about 1,000 animals between the two farms.
And you get just an idea of what maybe the average lifespan of an animal at Farm Sanctuary would be as to the maximum in the industry?
Yeah, we have cows at Farm Sanctuary that are around 20 years old. We have pigs that are up around 10 years old. We had a turkey live to be over 10 years old. That's high for a turkey. Mostly they live about 5 or 6 years. But, on a factory farm, a turkey will be killed at like 20 weeks old. And a chicken will be killed at like 6 or 7 weeks old. So at Farm Sanctuary, they live longer. The meat-type chickens that come to Farm Sanctuary, though, because they are so big, and because their hearts and lungs have a hard time supporting their huge bodies, will only live a couple of years usually. Despite the fact that we put them on high fiber feeds and low protein feeds and with all the necessary nutrients, but they're just so genetically programmed to be so big that their bodies have a hard time carrying that weight. So we do the best we can, but it's challenging. It's challenging, and we're getting animals that have come from an industry that has bred them to be, pieces of meat, and has unfortunately they're regarded as pieces of meat, and that's what we're challenging.
You might not know the details, but when you interact with these sort of the oversight committees that are interested in sort of branding different farming techniques as humane, is the composition of the committees, would it be primarily people who have a professional sort of economic investment in the business, or are they the Meyer family from Oscar Mayer, or are they people who run farms, own farms, and they're deeply economically invested in them, or are they people who are coming at it from an animal ecology, animal psychology perspective? Like, do you find any people who are truly objective, that they don't have a vested economic interest, do they need to be on the oversight committees that are investigating the humane conditions?
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. These agriculture committees that pass legislation regarding farm animals are usually made up of agricultural friendly lawmakers. So those laws tend to be very skewed towards agribusiness's mindset. And a lot of the guidelines that are put together by the beef industry or so on are put together by people in production agriculture with an interest and a perspective in production agriculture. Recently in California, though, we were working on an initiative to ban veal crates, gestation crates, and battery cages. And it passed by more than a 2-to-1 margin, which I think clearly demonstrates that most people think it's wrong to put animals in such small enclosures. But after that passed, the Senate Agriculture Committee in California was renamed to the Senate Food and Agriculture Committee. Now, this is the first time that any such movement happened in a state legislature. And what it was a recognition that other interests besides production agriculture need to be part of the process. And this is the kind of battle that's currently going on. Agribusiness has control. Federal agriculture committees, state agricultural committees. That's why farm animals are excluded from the Federal Animal Welfare Act. That's why farm animals are excluded from most state anti-cruelty laws. We're starting now to see some changes as people learn more and are appalled by the abuses, but that has historically been a real problem.
I was just wondering, do you see a change in the number of people becoming vegetarian? I know it's a pretty small amount, but is it a problem? Are people becoming more vegan, more vegetarian?
Just anecdotally, I would say change is happening in a big way. Now, not necessarily people becoming completely vegan, but certainly people eating less animal products. And if you look at places like New York City and LA, you see tons of vegan restaurants that are becoming established and are doing well. So I think that fact indicates that there's a growing market, and there's also growing discussion of these issues. And you have high-profile people like Ellen DeGeneres, who has now come out as a vegan. You have John Mackey, the CEO of Whole Foods, is out there as a vegan. So you have people that are, and Oprah Winfrey tried a vegan diet for a while. There's books like Eating Animals that are on the New York Times bestseller list. Books like Skinny Bitch, also reaching millions of people, promoting a vegan lifestyle. And I wasn't crazy about the name of that book when I first heard it, but it was a brilliant marketing strategy, and they've literally reached millions with that book, including people like Prince Fielder, who won the home run batting title, who's a vegan. Yeah, I think we're making progress. In terms of measuring the number of vegans in the country empirically and statistically, that's pretty tough because we're still a pretty small percentage. Maybe 3 to 4% of the population is vegetarian, and maybe half of that or even less is vegan. So with most statistical studies, we're actually in the margin of error, so theoretically we might not even exist. So we're a small number still, but a very dedicated and growing number.
How is Farm Sanctuary funded?
Farm Sanctuary is funded by individual donations. We have 200,000 members and supporters around the country. And we started out selling veggie hot dogs, so we've grown, which is a good thing.
Where do you get your vitamin B12 and iron from? Red meat is the best supply of readily absorbable heme iron. So where does your iron come from?
I don't know, but I'm getting enough, man. I've been a vegan since 1985. In terms of the B12, And I just eat a variety of foods.